Hey there, Jessie here from YouTube channel Essential Life. So when I was a aromatherapy student, I would get a lot of questions of people saying, hey, Jessie, what do you think of XYZ? What do you think of this practice? And it's really funny because a lot of the practices people asked me about were practices that were really common on social media. But from a perspective of an aromatherapist or aromatherapy student, it was kind of practices that were either controversial, questionable, and in some cases kind of unsafe. So in this video, I'll be going over a few different practices, giving a little perspective of an aromatherapist just to help you guys kind of see where I'm coming from. And for those who are really kind of wondering, like, is this safe? Is it not? What do people have to say about this? These three practices I'll be going over is using essential oils neat, the ingestion of essential oils, and then drop techniques. And of course, if anyone is here live and they have questions after that they'd like to ask my opinion on, they definitely can. So I also want to say before I get started into the meat of this is to say thank you for everyone who commented on my story and really gave me the inspiration and ideas for this live, which is of course really representative of the kind of questions I used to get. All right, so the first one we're going to be going over is the neat usage of essential oils. So for those who don't know, the neat usage of essential oils is using essential oils directly on your skin without dilution. So this is just like dropping it directly on your skin, not diluting it with anything. Generally recommended as an aromatherapist by training now, I do recommend that people will dilute an essential oil with a carrier oil before they apply it to their skin or their body. Of course, this is not necessary for, diffusing. You don't want to put carrier oils in your diffuser, but when you're putting it on your skin or your body, yes. So some examples would be like fractionated coconut oil. I have that from doTERRA. This is the travel size, so it's like a mini size. Jojoba oil. This is what I got from Plant Therapy. Of course, the link is in the description. And of course, if you are just an essential oil user, you're going to want a smaller bottle. I'm an aromatherapy student, so it's a bigger bottle that I buy. So what this might look like is diluting it properly would be putting the carrier oil on your palm and dropping a drop or two of essential oils, or making a roller ball. And then it's already pre-diluted. It has a few drops of essential oil with carrier oil, and then you can just kind of like apply it wherever you need it. And like I mentioned, generally speaking, you want to dilute the essential oils before putting on your skin. Of course, there are some exceptions, but generally it's the recommended best practice. And why we do this is because, well, one of the reasons is because when we put essential oils directly on our skin neat, there's a higher risk of adverse reactions. And this could be something just as irritation, like you put it on your skin, it's irritated, you can see it. And this can also be such as sensitization. So this is when your body develops an allergic reaction to essential oil. And what's kind of tricky about this one is that sometimes people will do this, use essential oils neat on their skin, and they'll say, oh, like, I'm totally fine. I've been doing it for a while now. But you don't really know until it's too late. So your body might be developing an allergic reaction. You don't see anything until like, boom, your body tells you enough is enough. You have you've developed sensitization. And this could be like you've applied on your arm, but you might see the rashes or whatnot where you did not apply it. So that's why it might be confusing for some people, and your body might be saying like, that's enough. We're sensitized to essential oil. And of course, if you want to learn a little bit more about this, I'm not going to get into this on my live. I did make a video. So if you're watching the replay, check out in the description. I did a whole little, like short little video on what is dilution. I also did another video, why dilute, where I get into really the nitty gritty of why we dilute essential oils. So just for the sake of your time, I'm not going to get into the details now because some of you guys might already know. And another thing I do want to mention is that your body, if you're using essential oils on your skin topically and you're getting a rash, it is not your body detoxing. I think it's so sad that this is being said in a lot of different communities. If you've ever seen the series Unwell, there's one on essential oils. There is a story of a lady who actually developed sensitization and really had a lot of issues with it when her friends or the people in her Facebook group was like, oh, your body's just detoxifying, put more essential oils on. If you're getting a rash, you don't want to be continuing to be putting essential oils on like you have been. I think that's pretty much it, but I will talk about the exceptions. I know some of you guys might be wondering, Well, you say to dilute all the time, generally with exceptions. What are the exceptions? So I could tell you off the top of my head, but what I want to do is I want to go through my book because I know some of my followers have bought the book that I recommended, which is Essential Oil Safety. It's a must for any aromatherapist, aromatherapy student, and those who really want to get into the nitty-gritty safety. Again, remember, it's not always the easiest to read. But if you have this book, you can turn to page 660. And this is where Tisserand talks about the undiluted essential oils and the usage of that. So he says, generally, undiluted essential oils are not used in massage, nor are they applied to eyes, mucous membranes, diseased or broken skin. This is to avoid causing irritation, inflammation, and or allergic reaction. However, there are circumstances in which benefits may outweigh the risks. Such instances could include bites and stings, burns, herpes simplex, herpes zoster, leg ulcers, malignant ulceration, so fungating carcinomas, mouth ulcers, neutropenic ulceration, pressure sores, tinea, varicae, warts, etc. In some of these circumstances, or in some of these instances, medical supervision is advisable. So I just want to say that there are different circumstances. I don't think everything is black and white in aromatherapy. I believe a general practice always dilute, but there are exceptions. So when I do get stung by a bee or I have mosquito bites, I will put lavender directly on my skin, and I'm not too worried about it. So that is Tisserand's guidelines, something that a lot of aromatherapists will defer to. So a lot of us really defer to Tisserand and his research. All right, I'm going to see if anything's happening in the comment section. No, now we're going to be talking about the ingestion of essential oils. So I get a lot of questions about ingestion of essential oils. So as a aromatherapist, even if you ask a aromatherapist what do they think of the ingestion of essential oils, you're going to get all different kinds of answers. And I'll share with you kind of what I've seen in the aromatherapy community. Is that I've seen people who are aromatherapists that are like, no, never, don't ever ingest. And if they're not doing that for themselves, they're not going to be recommending it to others. I've also seen people who might just use it once in their life and say, you know, after postpartum, I really struggled, and that's when I use essential oils internally. But then other than that, I haven't. And then I've also seen people who, like aromatherapists, who will use essential oils internally with purpose and safely. So that's kind of like the spectrum that I've seen among aromatherapists. I know it's really heated, even in the aromatherapist community, talking about ingestion. Sometimes people are really like, no, never do it. Personally, I find myself where I believe it's okay when it's appropriate, if it's done safely with a purpose. Like just ingesting for ingesting, I'm not a fan of. I don't encourage it. But again, everyone has to do their own research and make a decision that's best for them. So I'm going to tell you a little bit what I see of ingestion of essential oils on social media, things that kind of I find to be red flags that are a little bit questionable, so that you can better kind of make a power decision for yourself. So one thing that I do notice is that people will put essential oils in their water. This is not a practice I recommend. I see people just kind of taking essential oils willy-nilly, like, oh, I felt like this, so I'm going to try this essential oil. It tastes good. For me, I don't really agree with this. I don't approve of this practice. No judgment on people, but I just kind of want to make my convictions known so that when people are searching for answers, they can see what I personally think of it. And again, I think I've mentioned this, essential oils and water. I don't agree with mixing essential oils with water because generally speaking, essential oils and water doesn't really mix. So you're drinking it, it's not diluted at all. And I remember when I started my essential oil journey, I was told, well, our company does things the French aromatherapy way. So it's inspired by French aromatherapy, which I guess is kind of a questionable thing as well. Like people will say that doesn't really exist. But anyways, and I was told this so many times that when I was a aromatherapy student, I was like, you know what, maybe there is this like French aromatherapist, they do drink essential oils and water. Like I'm so confused. So I actually contacted an aromatherapist in France that I know on Instagram. I said, hey, like, can I ask you some questions? I'm an aromatherapy student in Canada. And I'm hearing a lot of like rumors or things about French aromatherapy that I want to run by you. And I asked her about it. And she said, no, she's like, there's so many things I see on social media. She feels the same way where she's like, I just want to pull my hair out when I see it. And when it comes to putting essential oils in water, she's like, that's a no-no. Like people shouldn't do it. She has a friend that is a doctor that works with like pharmaceutical medicine as well as like naturals. I think she combines it, and she's seen patients that have burned their esophagus because of this practice. So it's something that I don't really recommend. Another thing I want to mention with ingestion of essential oils, the risks of complication, adverse reactions do go up. That being said, it's something you really need to consider. And a lot of the times, a little secret here is that if you use essential oils topically or aromatically, sometimes you can even address what you want to address, what you thought you can only address with ingestion. What I mean by this is have been times where my throat was getting scratchy. It hurt to swallow, and I was like, oh no, what's happening? And my inclination might have been to try to take essential oils internally, but I thought, no, like I know topically it's really powerful. So what I did was I put some carrier oil, I put a drop or two of tea tree, so melaleuca, and I massaged it into my throat. And within the first application, I felt relief, and I applied it 1 or 2 times after that, and I was fine. So a lot of times we can address what we need to address with topical, meaning putting it on your skin, or like aromatically breathing in the essential oil. So my stance, because like I said, every aromatherapist will have a different stance. My stance is that I believe ingestion can be done. I believe it's important to do it with purpose, taking into consideration all the safety and considerations that are attached to that essential oil, that are attached with your health conditions, that are attached with any medications you're on. And then if it's done safely and properly diluted and whatnot, I believe it can be done. But again, some people will say you need to be supervised by an aromatherapist or a health practitioner. In the end, it's going to be your choice to do what you think is safe, but I know there are a lot of safety considerations to acknowledge when we are taking essential oils internally. I'm hoping that makes sense. It's kind of nuanced. I don't like telling people what to do. I just like to empower people and give people the information they might find helpful. So that's my stance. Next thing, of course, if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. Drop techniques. So what are drop techniques? Drop techniques, it's a technique where people will have essential oils. Usually there's about 8 of them, and they will drop it directly, so neat usage, drop it directly on the person, usually on their spine. I think sometimes they even do it on their hands and feet, if I'm not mistaken, but I know it's the spine. They'll drop it, and then they'll drop the next essential oil, and then they'll drop the next essential oil, blends and singles. So doTERRA has their version called AromaTouch. Yeah. And then Young Living has their version called Raindrop Technique. So my thoughts on this is that it kind of falls along with, well, does fall along the category of using essential oils neat. And also, I'm not a part of an aromatherapy association as an aromatherapist, but I am a part of an aromatherapy association as an associate. And even when I signed up for membership, I had to sign off and like consent to certain things. And one of the things I consented to was saying that I would not promote unsafe practices such as drop techniques. So that was a specific thing that I had to sign off on and say I will not promote it. So that just kind of shares with you kind of the gravity, the risks of this specific practice or technique. So I'm hoping that shed some light on things. And this is pretty much all that I really have to say. So I'm going to do a quick recap. If you guys have any questions after in the replay, feel free to answer. But the questions that I get very often and that I got asked on my story on Instagram was the neat usage of essential oils, ingestion of essential oils, and drop techniques. What do I think? And I'm hoping that what I shared was really helpful for you to make the best decision for yourself. So of course, take care. And of course, I'll put some videos up here, hopefully, where you can click on. And yeah, feel free to look in my description to see other recommended videos. Bye, guys.